Why is every MMO dying except for this one?
When you look at the population of every major MMORPG and notice that every one of them has seen its player base decline over the last 10 years, except for 2, it makes you stop and wonder, what are the declining MMOs doing wrong, and what are the growing MMOs doing right?
Wait, before any of this happens, chat, I think people nowadays are hyper spurgs, right? And they don't have the mental to play an MMO and grind. Like MMOs, you have to invest a lot of time into it, right? Where a lot of my friends that work IRL, they play like Modern Warfare or Fortnite, etc., like Apex. These games, you don't have to grind. You just go in, shoot, that's it. Like MMOs, you have to invest so much time into like learning the raids, getting gear, pre-raid biz, doing some PvP for some more biz, reputation grind. There's a lot to it, right? And I feel like this generation, they are kind of zoomer. Like even shorts is in trend because people don't want to spend long time watching videos, right? So I think there is a differentiation in that as well. But yeah, let's take a look at it. I don't think it's only the reason MMOs are bad. They are kind of bad. But what I'm trying to say is I think it's like the new trending as well.
Right. What about the long-reigning king of the genre, World of Warcraft? It's public knowledge that it's been bleeding players for a long time, and yet you can tell there are so many players hoping each expansion will be the one that hooks them yet again. Each expansion creates a massive mountain of interest, whereas other MMOs are only generating molehills. Then there's Elder Scrolls Online. It suffered a near-fatal launch, but committed to fixing the game's major bugs and dropped the requirement.
I actually never played Elder. I've actually never played it.
Since then, the game has had some good years and some bad years, and it's held on to a
good years and bad. It looks like it's dead, man.
Respectable number of players, but the trend is
okay. I see the spikes.
Decline, especially in the last year. Guild Wars 2, same thing. Another massively successful MMO trending down over the long run. Though it is worth noting, over the last 2 years, this game has reversed course on that trend and is actually seeing some growth. Not surprising, this game did a lot of things right in recent expansions between its mounts, its story, and its zone exploration, and what feels like a renewed focus on the game itself by the developers. In
the mounts are kind of
if we
insane
look at
in
RuneScape, same thing. It's been
Guild
bleeding
War.
Players and interest for a long time now, still holding on to a very respectable player base size, but definitely trending down. While these are some of the biggest
this is RuneScape?
Players, the trend isn't unique
What, the
to
RuneScape
these
looks
games. It's across the entire genre.
Is this different?
Let's take a look
RuneScape
at
2?
a few more. Black Desert Online, Terra, Destiny 2.
Dude, I will say, but I think Black Desert Online has the best MMO creation, like best customization, period.
EverQuest 2, Lord of the Rings Online, Ion, SWTOR. You can pick almost any MMO out there, and the graph is going to look almost exactly the same. Interestingly, there's only 2 games that escape this trend, and they couldn't be more different from one another, and that's Final Fantasy XIV and old school RuneScape. When I see something like this, it always makes me wonder. When I look at something thriving where everything else is struggling to survive and even dying, I want to know why. I have hundreds and sometimes thousands of hours in almost every MMO I mentioned so far. So in this video, let's start by taking a look at what Final Fantasy XIV does differently. Final Fantasy XIV is a buy and then sub to play MMO that gives you 60 levels for free to get the hooks in you. Right off the bat, this is a great and confident approach to monetization. You don't have to commit a dime to the game until
I have an interesting take on this. I know we're not even in the video. FF devs, they seem like they listen, but if I play with the, like I did DSR and a few savages with some parsers, and they are not happy of what Yoshi P does. And it sounds like me when I was playing WoW. When I was like complaining for WoW changes. But there's a lot of FF players crying for it. But I don't know. It's like mixed comms. There's a lot of them saying, oh, Yoshi P is insane. We love him. Yoshi P is great. I think he's great. But at the same time, there are a lot of problems that exist that is still ignored, right? And I think Malachite always says like, I don't want to say this. Never mind, dude. Parser's not a representative of the community. Yeah, I think FF players, they protect their community very well. Yeah. And when I played FF, I had a great time. I thought the story was insane. Story was fun, of course. Community was nice to me. PPC. It has its ups, but after I finished MSQ and I've done the ultimates, I felt like there was nothing to do after that. When I was first playing through the MSQs, I was like, holy moly, this game has so much to do. But after I finished MSQ, it felt like there was nothing to do after that. I know there was a guy like writing an essay saying you didn't play enough. Dude, I played a year and a half full and like streaming 10 to 20 hours, even did a subathon. Like played FF so much, right? I think I can say I played it a lot, right, chat? I think I could say I played decent amount. Where the people in the comment were saying this guy didn't even play a lot, and he's saying these things, right? I cleared Uwu, I did UCOB, DSR. I tried everything. I even did RP. I have so many RP videos. I think FF is a good game, but there's definitely like a pause to it. And I think you have to be like an RP player or I guess just parser to enjoy. So I think the game's really good in RP. That's the end statement, okay? PvP, not good. PvE, raid, they're good, but there's so little of it. There's so little of it. And in WoW, like at least we continue raiding because there's like mounts or item drops, and a lot of the streams get a lot of view when we're at the last boss and they want to see what's dropping, right? FF doesn't have that. You get geared so fast, which is good, but bad at the same time because there's like no loot hype. And people don't watch like the raiders. They watch the raider view like peaks the first 2 weeks, and after that it's just, I think the raid content's like dead. Whereas in WoW, you can see Payo raiding for 1 year straight, trying to get Warglaive or Thunder Fury, and that loot hype is there, right? It's just missing that loot hype in there. Yes. I'm gonna overdose stop. What do you want me to say, man? Say your point. I want your point to get across, dude. FF is a good game. Chat, this is an FF player. He has FFXIV in his name. This guy, like, was born and bred in FFXIV. He hates FFXIV, okay? This guy hates FFXIV. He even has it in his name, chat. He's an FFXIV streamer. He fucking hates FFXIV, man. So when a person says, like, FFXIV is perfect, it's a good game. I'm not bashing on it, of course. But it has its flaws too, right? After I played, like, WoW, Lost Ark, FF for a good amount, I realized maybe WoW is not so bad. Like, these two games, they have their own problems too. Like, WoW's not perfect, but yeah, that is my whole point.
You know,
holy moly, that was a long talk.
Aside, there literally is no reason not to give it a try. Then, if you do decide that you enjoy it,
Video's fun. The FFXIV players are gonna hate me, man. I love you guys. FFXIV is great. Miko T, Vieira, I love them, okay? It was a great game. RP was amazing.
Allows them to avoid the
RP was amazing.
Free-to-play games like pay to win, pay for convenience, and the general cannibalism of content.
There's a lot of people that pay to win in FF2. There was a guy named X. He buys a boost and he gets Gil, and he doesn't learn the book, so he can keep buying that same class, and he keeps getting Gil, and then he like buys runs. So there's pay to win in FF2. I played it, so I kind of know what goes around there, right?
Free-to-play games experience as they place all their chase items in the cash shop. Let me explain. Some people say that
Chat, why is it lagging? What is this?
subscription-based MMOs are history. But first, speaking of history, Rise of Kingdoms is the sponsor of today's video. Rise of Kingdoms is a history-based
we love Rise of Kingdoms
to choose from, like Roman, Viking, or Egyptian. Each civilization excels in different stats.
That is inefficient, man. You straight up buy Gil and you get way more. Right, but I'm trying to say is, dude, why am I lagging, chat? I'm gonna make it 40.
With over 100 million downloads, the developers have decided to expand to PC so that you can enjoy this great game on a bigger screen with smoother real-time strategy PC controls. Hundreds of players can participate in battles on screen at once. And now on PC, it looks better. And
okay, another good point is like, I guess FF. Gosh, I don't want to sound like I like FF, chat. Don't get me wrong, but they do take a lot of break. A lot of the FF player community, they take a break until the next content comes out.
Ever before.
So
all the battles are
it goes on to what I was saying. You run out of things to do. You run out of things to do.
You can select troops by dragging your mouse and then send them off to battle.
Like even J9, she takes breaks, right?
You can join alliances.
You run out of things to do.
40 players and compete with other alliances for control of valuable resources to make your empire stronger. Outsmart your enemies.
But that's for every MMO. That's what I'm trying to say, man. Every MMO has its flaws, and you run out of content.
There is no limit to the strategy you can use to defeat your enemies. So support my channel by downloading the game from my link in the description. description or
I
scan the
will.
QR code on screen right now for the mobile version. You can also get a special bonus on PC if you use code PLAYROK for PC. Have fun building your empire in Rise of Kingdoms. Let's get back to it. I think the subscription model has turned out to be one of Final Fantasy XIV's best selling points. Not the fact that you have to pay $12 a month to play it, but the fact that you don't have to spend another dime beyond that. In return, you get a finished product, which is incredibly rare these days. Final Fantasy XIV does not engineer problems so that they can sell you the solution. And in 2022, that's honestly such a massive breath of fresh air that does not go unnoticed by the average player today. We are so used to trudging through games
Original game, DLC, original game, DLC.
that are built with obvious, avoidable
Nah, this is false. Like, chat, I like FFXIV. I spent a lot of money, okay? There are cosmetics and emotes. That is literally DLC. They have some insane emotes, and I bought them all, okay? I enjoyed it. Isn't that like DLC?
flaws put in the game to extract money from us. A lot of times we don't spend the money out of principle or for
Okay, people are gonna say in comment like, Savix didn't play FFXIV. This guy like barely played, but did. Never mind.
reality, and we endure this inconvenience or the next one until we decide not to anymore. And we quit. Then there's the expansions themselves. Final Fantasy expansions are massive and actually worth getting excited about. The money the game is making is being poured back into the game. You can see it in the last
Story
year
was
alone,
insane,
Final
chat.
Fantasy
I love
14 had the
Xenos.
Endwalker expansion that came with a ton of new
MSQ is
zones. Not
insane.
one, but
I don't
two
hate
new classes
FF.
and a ton of new
I'm
dungeons,
just trying to
trials,
play
and
the both
raids,
sides,
and
okay?
an enormous amount of earnable weapon skins, mount skins, armor skins, and pets. On top of all of that, every quarter or so, Final Fantasy gets another patch for free that is often as
You barely
big
played,
as other MMOs.
dude. I will log in right now in FXIV and just slash played. I played so much fucking hour, dude. DSR, we spent like fucking 3 months in there, like 5 hours a day, man. Dude, I played that game so much. People cannot say I didn't play it.
Quests, dungeons, raids, and an entire new housing island system, and a slew of earnable
I will say their housing is insane. Their housing is insane.
cosmetics. Now, when you compare this to what other major MMOs are adding, the difference is very noticeable. SWTOR's most recent expansion added about 2 hours of story content on each side in a game that is most known for its story content. ESO's newest expansion
I'm falling
added a new
asleep,
zone and a
SWTOR.
raid and a card game. BDO added a new zone and a new class. Guild Wars actually had a respectable
Okay.
expansion with a new class spec for every class, new zones, and a new mount type, but it took 3 years to come out. WoW's expansions are the only ones that come close in terms of size and scope, with Dragonflight adding a new class, a new race, and a new class of mount among their other usual additions like multiple new zones, dungeons, and raids. Again, when you look at what each of these MMOs is adding year over year, it's easy to see why some keep players coming back more than others. The MMOs without mandatory subscriptions are really struggling in terms of content additions and enjoyable time sinks. Their expansions are smaller, and the number of earnable weapons and mount cosmetics are generally non-existent, which means players have a lot less
You
to
do,
do,
Mal.
so
You
they get
actually
bored
do.
sooner and leave sooner. So begins the unstoppable cycle of fewer people spending money in the cash shop, which means the developers have to crank up monetization while cutting back on the scope of expansions even more, further expediting the decline of their population. We have seen it so many times, and we're seeing it again in almost every non-sub MMO today. Final Fantasy XIV did not concede its sub despite its disastrous launch, and I think that it owes a lot of its success today to that. If Final Fantasy XIV was just another game where you paid
I'll be honest, chat. If I was single and I was not a streamer, I think I would play FF and I would just RP all day, man. The housing and RP is fantastic in that game, dude.
for the best cosmetics, paid for the best
That's the only reason I would play FF for. Housing and just RPing, like walking around.
weapons, and paid for the best mounts, and then paid for convenience on top of all of that. I think it too
But
would
as a streamer, I don't want to be like streaming and I'm like typing. I was like, hey, you look nice today. What a marvelous day it is. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that on stream. So I could get why the RP community exists. I think the RP community is insane. Yeah.
experiencing the same decline.
You're
in
not
interest.
single? I am single, but yeah, I don't want to be single forever is what I'm trying to say. Or is that, never mind, dude. You could get a relationship playing FF.
the rest
You
of the
could
genre.
you
MMO
could meet
developers
you
figured
could
out that
meet
they
some.
make more money in the
I will
short
say
term if they
there's a
sold
lot more females playing FFXIV than World of Warcraft. There's so many more, dude.
the coolest things in the cash shop, and now they are realizing that they make a lot less money in the long term if they
Yeah.
put all of the coolest things in the cash shop. Saying that monetizing all of the best cosmetics in an MMO is better than going full pay to win is like saying jumping off of a high rise is better than jumping out of an airplane. You're killing your game either way, one is just faster than the other. It's incredibly simple. As soon as an MMO starts asking how it can make more money out of players
Give players a reason to stay. Give players a reason to spend money.
before they quit, instead of asking what experience and rewards they can add to keep them around, the cycle has begun. The cannibalism of content by the cash shop has begun. The decline of the MMO is inevitable because the core philosophy of the MMO is being eroded. The goal of the developer has shifted from retain the player to get the player.
Sadly, I don't think like pay to win disappears. In our day and age, I think every single game has pay to win. People buy boosts, people buy raid clears, right? And that exists in every game, man. It exists in every game.
Player to spend money in the cash shop. Explore, kill, loot doesn't work if the cool loot is in the cash shop. Why should you explore and kill? The developer is now trying to sell you your rewards rather than encouraging you to go out and earn them. Almost all of the dying MMOs today suffer from a much more obvious problem. Western audiences don't like pay to win and don't seem to stick around long when too much of the game's monetization model is based on pay for convenience, which, if we're being honest, often ends up drifting all the way into pay to win. For a long time, WoW did what Final Fantasy XIV is doing before Final Fantasy XIV did it. WoW was adding to
Okay, I want to make this clear. Ready? WoW. I said this yesterday. Blizzard games were fucking insane, chat. When people said Blizzard, like, Blizzard games? Insane game. Like, growing up, I played Diablo, Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, World of Warcraft Classic, up to like Wrath. I think it was like peaking, right? But these guys like branched off and sponsored with the wrong people. And then their main teams started falling off, like one by one, right? And now there's only like maybe like 2 to 5 original members. I don't know. There's not a lot. So when somebody creates a game for the love and passion of it, it is good, right? It's kind of like me when I make my own videos. It's good, but when I give it to Clack just wants a payment, and he makes a poo-poo video. This is the reference. Clack doesn't do that on purpose. Or he doesn't make poo-poo video. But what I'm trying to say is, after they partnered up with Activision, etc., I think they started falling down. Yeah. And then they were busy like touching lamens and drinking breast milk. Yeah. Riot Game, on the other hand, they're doing good, dude. They're doing good. They're in control. They seem to be doing good. Arcane was good, better than World of Warcraft movie. Valorant is better than Overwatch 2. League of Legends, ultimately good, and they're working on MMOs, so I'm excited for that. Okay, I think FF, they still have in control and they are doing good, but WoW, it's just it changed, man.
tons of content. WoW was adding tons of earnable cosmetics, tons of earnable mounts, and earnable pets. So what changed for WoW? WoW was once a sub-to-play MMO with all the best cosmetics earned in game and no pay to win. It was the biggest MMO of all time, but WoW changed. It started making some of the best cosmetics and some of the best mounts cash shop items.
You did something unforgivable.
Okay, can I jump on this? Them making just 1 to 2 mounts is not the reason why WoW had a downfall. This is bullshit. Because we got cash shop, it did not make the game bad. What the real problem, like I play this game, chat, right? I can say this. When the beta comes out, we say, hey, can you make the covenants where we could change it? It's not good that we're locked into one and we're perma stuck with it. And they're like, no, the game goes out, it takes them fucking 6 months to realize, oh, maybe you guys were right. We're gonna do that now, right? That's the reason. Them adding mounts in the cash shop is not the reason why the game is bad. Why we're upset about the cash mount, though, is because they put more effort into the cash mount than the regular mount that could have been just added into the game and we could have farmed it, right? If they make every mount like super good and fancy and then they add a cash mount, I don't think people will be mad. The reason why we get mad is they add in the same bone structure, same mount for every dungeons, and then cash mount gets like an insane, like crazy animated new bone structure mount, right? But like I said, I don't think this is the reason why Blizzard went downhill. It's not because of cash mounts. It's not even paid to win, dude. This is wrong. This is wrong.
Cash shop items.
You did something unforgivable. You released a mount? And not just any mount. Not just a horse. Not a bear. But the mount. The
Can I skip this?
celestial steed.
It also added
What
wild
is
tokens,
going
which
on?
unfortunately is really just a fancy way to say pay to win. Exchanging real-world money for in-game items and currency is the definition of pay to win. WoW tokens are probably the single most complained about feature in the entire game, and literally every player saw that coming. The only reason adding WoW tokens didn't do more damage faster is that they weren't added until 2015, when many players had sunk a decade of their lives into the game, and they didn't see an immediately compelling option to switch over to. To be fair, WoW isn't the only MMO to make this mistake, but it is certainly the biggest MMO to fall into this trap. ESO has a similar feature with crowns, where the developers sanctioned players buying in-game gold with cash as long as they use crowns to do it. Same thing in Guild Wars 2, you can exchange in-game currency for cash shop currency and vice versa. The problem with this is now every item in the game has real-world value. Every item you can earn, someone else can buy. It devalues player achievements and demotivates them from seeking out more. More importantly, it condenses an entire day, week, or month's worth of memories into a forgettable 15-second card swipe. Here's Asmongold distilling down the leveling process in an MMO that allows you to exchange cash for currency.
Step 1, get a job. Step 2, get your paycheck from the job. Step 3, use your money to buy a boost to level 70. Step 4, pay somebody else to boost you through dungeons to level 80. Step 5, buy gold. Step 6, go to a Naxxramas GDKP. Step 7, bid on all of the gear in the GDKP and get full gear. Step 8, pay for an arena carry. And step 9, buy BOE gear. Step 10, finally, now you can play the game.
These are 3 of Final Fantasy XIV's biggest
You could do that in any game, though. Let's be fair, chat. You could do that in any MMO. It's not just WoW. It's literally every game.
competitors, and they all caved on this topic, and I honestly believe it's a large part of the answer as to why Final Fantasy XIV thrives while they bleed players. It's a death of 1,000 cuts by monetization. First, it was just a random mount. Then it was all the best mounts. First, it was an armor set. Then it was all the best armor sets. First, it was failing to ban RMTers. And then it was condoning RMT through the cash shop currencies. Final Fantasy XIV just has
Does this guy play WoW, chat? Are we playing the same game?
the purest monetization of the bunch, and as a result has held on to the core MMO experience of explore, kill, and loot to make your character as
Are we
powerful
playing the
and
same
as
game?
awesome looking as possible. If we look at the more pay-to-win games, their decline is even more sharp. It's almost as if there's a direct correlation between the amount of pay-to-win and the speed at which your game becomes irrelevant here in the West. Obviously, Western players don't like pay-to-win, and sanctioning buying gold with real money is sanctioning pay-to-win. It's done. The game now contains a significant form of pay-to-win, and it's a genie that can't be put back in the bottle. Well, I suppose they could, but I doubt they will. The accountants don't see the money they are not making because of it, they only see the money they are making because of it. It's hard to prove a negative. When they make less money this year than they did last year, they don't see it as being due to
Listen, chat. I don't hate FFXIV. I loved it so much that I even made an animation that took like 3 months to make, right? A shitty drawing animation I did with my mouse. I like the game, but I think this guy's praising it a little too hard, okay?
their over monetization pushing players away. They see it as the result of their under monetizing the players that are left. Incredible. The damage done by WoW tokens, crowns, and gems for gold doesn't stop there. The economy no longer needs to be based on what a player can afford in-game. It becomes
No,
in
I don't
part
hate
based
FFX.
on-
I had a great time in FFXIV chat. I think playing it first time through doing the story is amazing, man. Like, yeah.
on how much gold they can afford to buy out of game with their credit card. Inflation goes nuts, and a new player enters the game looking at unreasonable prices and is left with two options: buy gold with cash or grind out a now inflated amount of gold for themselves, neither of which is terribly appealing. Final Fantasy XIV, on the other hand,
No,
still
I'm not trying to piss off chat. I'm not trying to piss off chat.
puts all the best rewards in game and does not sanction the ability to turn those into cash transactions. Instead, they would rather you go out and earn it, and just like that, the player has something to do when they log
Earn
in.
it? Dude. Mala, how many people buy Uwu clears? How many people buy Uwu clears? How many people buy ultimate clears, man? What do you mean earn it, dude? There's so many people
Alright, the
fucking
next
buying
item
it. I play FF, I'm fucking spending months in there. And then I see people like, Stoop, one swipe. Yo, I got my weapon. I don't know how I got it, but I did it. I don't remember the fight though. Like,
on the list is going to be the content itself. First, let's talk about the solo experience. Final Fantasy XIV was built for the solo player, but not at the expense of the group player. It is a highly curated journey from start to finish, built with a short attention span.
it's like what I said, chat. Every game has pay to win. Every game has pay to win. You can't stop it. I wish it could be stopped. In a perfect world, it will be stopped. But every game has it. Okay.
Today's MMO player in mind. There's not a
I
moment
said that
the
earlier.
game isn't
Every game
leading you
has
by
it.
the hand to the next objective. It's always there in the top left corner, ushering you to the next plot point. There is a continuous 10-year story woven through the game seamlessly. This achieves two things. One, the new player never signs in and finds themselves unsure of what to do next. They always have an objective. It's worth noting that they can deviate from this path if they want to.
I've not
There's
tried
plenty
that,
of horizontal
really.
content, optional trials, optional dungeons, and even optional jobs to level, but the player can also choose the on-rails experience and soak up that main story. The second thing is the quality of the story. It's amazingly written with twists, turns, and jaw-dropping backstabs, complete with music and cutscenes. It's not perfect, nothing is. It's got way too many dialogue boxes, in my opinion, that really serve to age the MMO. But the story those dialogue boxes tell is so good that it keeps players moving forward.
I love Xenos.
And for the players that choose to skip the dialogue boxes,
such a
the
cool
cutscenes do a
character.
good job of presenting the key plot points so that they are mostly able to follow along as well. Final Fantasy XIV focuses on delivering a masterfully told story, which is something a lot of MMOs treat as optional when it's really not. A good story, fantastic lore, it's critical to any great RPG. While Final Fantasy XIV is an RPG MMO, emphasis on the RPG first, it is no slouch when it comes to group content. This is another thing Final Fantasy XIV handles brilliantly. Most MMO players today are solo players, and if the MMO they are playing does not do a good job of introducing them to dungeons or trials and other group content, they simply won't participate in that content. The story in Final Fantasy XIV consistently and seamlessly sends players into group content. Many of the dungeons are part of the story and must be completed to proceed with the story. Same with many of the trials. The difficulty on this content is tuned down to what we'll call story mode difficulty, but it still serves to introduce every single player to that type of content. And once there, many find that they enjoy it and begin to pursue it horizontally. They deviate from
I'm watching it low because I kept freezing. Here, I'll try to put it back up.
the story to seek out the optional trials, the optional raids, for the fun of completing them, but also for the incredible rewards and cosmetics that can be earned inside. So despite being a solo MMO through and through, Final Fantasy XIV ends up having every member of the community participate in a ton of group content every expansion. This means you can always find a group for any dungeon, trial, or raid in the game. Level scaling ensures that it will always be fun, and there won't be one person in the group killing everything and trivializing the content while you struggle to keep up. I think other MMOs should recognize the success of Final Fantasy XIV's approach to dungeons and specifically trials. You spawn in front of a boss and you can already tell 100% of the developers' time and effort are put.
I want to tag along with that. I'm gonna be honest. MMOs all suck. They're all shit games. I think our standards are so high. It's a little true, man. Back when Classic WoW first came out, it was like one of the first big MMOs, right? Probably the biggest MMO. There was no standards. There was no other games to compare it with. It's just a massive world. Nobody even cared to get to level 60. Me and my brothers, we were like level 30, 40, forever, just world PvPing everywhere, right? We got to 60 very late. It was just a different era, man. But now there's so many other good games where you could compare it, like very small things to. And I think MMOs are very hard to survive in that area. And I said this way earlier at the start of the stream too. But I don't want to cap on that because I already talked about it. Let's finish the video, chat.
Put into this one fight. There are no boring trash pulls to wade through over and over, no filler DPS sponge side bosses with low effort mechanics, no long runs back when you wipe. You just
That is
spawn
true. That is true. There is no long backs. The food buff stays. I did like that.
in front of the boss, the final act. There are boss transformations, stage transformations, music changes, and cutscenes. It's a cinematic experience as well as a
Musics are
mechanically
10 out of
heavy
10.
experience with multiple levels of difficulty so that you can choose how hard you want it to be. And if you do choose the hardest difficulties, there are great
I want to check. Is this guy, did he just start playing or is he like a FF player forever? I think when you're first time riding the bike, FF is insane, dude. But once you're done biking up to the hill, and there's not a lot of things to do up in that hill. It's either you like start sucking dicks, RPing, or you just parse. There's only two things you could do.
rewards for your efforts. The trials are great.
I had a fucking fantastic time climbing up that bike. I did. And there are times, like I said 2 days ago, I was like, I kind of miss FF just walking around and seeing the people. That aspect is great. Housing, RPing, they did a great job, man.
Group content that I always look forward to because they're a spectacle and they're fun. Some other MMOs are noticing. It looks like Guild Wars 2 has been inspired by these trials in its strike missions recently, and I think more MMOs would benefit from focusing on this quick, high-intensity, mechanic-heavy group content. All thriller, no filler.
I will say, Lost Ark PvE content is the best raiding experience. It's super fun. I think Lost Ark raiding is super fun, man.
Get in, get out. It works, and it works well. There just aren't enough people that want to devote.
Chad, they don't even pay me. Why would I say it? If I enjoyed it, I enjoyed it. I don't get paid by them to say this. I think Lost Ark PvE content was king. Like, there's like counter mechanics, there's dodge mechanics. Like, you have to be speed, violence, momentum. FFXIV fights are fun, but it's telegraphed. Like, the same thing happens over and over again. There's no new like rotation. It's the same thing. Like, I still remember DSR where it's the same thing, man. Maybe like the sword ways, you go this way or this way, clockwise, but there's not like a little different combo the boss does. But in Lost Ark, the boss does like different combinations, right? And attacks from like different angles. Where in WoW, like, you just take and make one spot, FF, everything's telegraphed, same time, same thing, right?
6 hours of their day to struggling through a raid anymore. Final Fantasy XIV's trials are the best.
I like games that are
experience.
reactionary,
The
is what I'm
final
saying.
fight and its loot. And none of the filler that leads up to that. Anyways,
Yeah, Lost
these are
Ark
the things
PvE
that
was
I
the best
noticed
one.
when I played Final Fantasy XIV. The game launched horribly. They shut it down, and perhaps the best decision they made was to not give up the subscription model. By retaining that, they ensured that they could continue to outdo themselves from one expansion to the next. They were able to continue to give players great in-game rewards for their achievements, rather than locking them all in a cash shop. They were able to crank the cinematic spectacles to 11 on the group content, and I think that's something a lot of MMOs forget. Raids, trials, and dungeons, they should be spectacles in 2022 and beyond. No one is impressed by running through a cave and killing things along the way anymore. Those days are over. Developers have to think beyond that. Give us stage transformations, give us boss transformations, give us epic soundtracks, and if you won't, Final Fantasy XIV will. Final Fantasy XIV isn't perfect. It's not a one-size-fits-all MMO.
How
The
much
art
did
style
this
is
guy
hit
get
and miss
paid?
for a lot of players. Some people are never
How
going
much
to
did
be
he
okay
get
with a flying
paid?
car pulling up next to them in their fantasy MMO. The base game has way too many dialogue boxes that make it feel old compared to modern RPGs. The questing experience is definitely carried by the story. There's literally almost zero combat while questing. It's mostly talking to one NPC and then the next until you unlock a dungeon or a trial. But when you do get a solo duty or a dungeon or a trial, it's amazing. Zone exploration is not as
Yes, like I said, chat, many times, if you're playing FFXE for the first time, it's an amazing adventure. Until you go to that tippity top of the mountain.
good as it is in other MMOs. The most exciting thing that you might find is an Aether Current. There is next to no reason to interact with mobs in Overland content. It's almost always better to leash them and then talk to the NPC that they were standing next to, which is rough on immersion. And
What
finally,
is that,
if you're new to the
Mala?
game, you're gonna have to spend a lot of hours working through the story alone before you can spend any significant amount of time with your friends. But despite all of this, Final Fantasy XIV is one of only 2 MMOs that fall into S tier for me. I absolutely love it, but I also recognize its shortcomings. It's exciting to imagine an MMO that does what Final Fantasy XIV does well while improving on what it does not. I think there's absolutely
This guy has Square Enix NFT.
room for another big MMO to succeed alongside Final Fantasy XIV and to even surpass it. There is so much to be learned from its success and from the failure of its peers. For the sake of the genre, I just hope future MMOs are paying attention. As for the future MMOs, if your plan is to build an incredibly inconvenient MMO and sell us the convenience, if your plan is to try to sell a pay-to-win MMO in the West, if your plan is to be an MMO with all the best cosmetics locked in the cash shop rather than earned, well, you just haven't been paying attention. If you're still here, hopefully you enjoyed the video, so be sure to like and subscribe for more MMO content. And a massive shout out for my YouTube members for supporting the
Thank
channel.
you for the video, Mr. Luki. there also seems to be a difference in philosophy when it comes to retention. When FF14 starts losing player, Yoshi P doesn't panic and go, "We must retain what's left." He stops and asks, "Okay, what are we doing wrong?"
Before we continue, I got to announce our new sponsor. Have you heard of the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV? With an expanded free trial which you can play through the entirety of A Realm Reborn and the award-winning Heaven's Ward expansion up to level 60
Holy
for
moly,
free
I
with
don't
no
want to hear
restrictions
this,
on
dude. I've heard this
playtime.
way too many
Click
times,
my link
man.
below to start your new trial today.
The devs, no, I mean actually interact with players. They do this constantly in a non-patronizing way. The live stream, producer, fan fest. Yeah, I think the devs are awesome. I think they do try and do a good job, man. You actually mentioned one of the things blew my mind. I instantly switched to Sword over FFXIV. I was actually stunned. I found out there was a simple patch what was equal expansion. When I started playing FFXIV, it was right there after the expansion drop. What are they talking about, chat? And eventually I experienced my first expansion of FFXIV, had mind-blowing. Chat, he's on this right here. This is what he's on, okay? Paint. He's on that hill, like he's biking up that hill right now, okay? He's biking up that hill. Yeah, it's really fun, man. And then you get up that hill, and it's everyone just sitting in Limsa Losa. Same people, they're like a fucking statue. There's like a gem. I bet you if I log in right now, he's still there. There's a cat boy right here, and a cat girl next to him. They just fucking stand here. They're a fucking statue. They're like gargoyles. They're there every single day, dude. There's nothing to do. You just stand around. And then I go up to this guy and I start talking. Yo, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, yo, you see those guys in that corner over there? Don't talk to them. Don't talk to them. Those guys are like mean people. And they suck dicks for 5 gil. And it's all like that, dude. It's all like that. I'm not saying everyone's bad, but there is a mass group of people that does this, okay? I'm not even kidding. It does exist. But there are very good things about it. I think RPing and housing, there's some cool people there, okay? I'm not saying it's a bad game. But some people are on the cove, I think. Can I say it? I think some people are on the cove. The game's not bad. It's not a bad game, chat. Like I said, if I was single and I didn't stream, I would probably want to play FFXIV. It's like a second life, dude. I would just go in there, I become a cat girl, and I just start sucking. Just kidding. Anyway. Oh my god, dude. It's unreasonable to think. Okay, I want to see how long he played FF. Does he like constantly play it or? Whew. Gosh, I don't know. Chat, does he even play WoW? He made a video like covering WoW. He doesn't even have a video on WoW, man. Not to hate on the guy, man. Your respects to your video, but
When you look
you remember that comment I got mauled of that guy saying like Savix doesn't play FFXIV? Why is he talking about FFXIV? I need to type. I don't think you played WoW. You know what I mean? I think I need to write that there, man. Holy moly. Here's what I'll say, chat. WoW, Lost Ark, FFXIV. I think I've played almost all the content up to date. Man. Actually, maybe I don't do this. This might take too long to talk about, man. FFXIV, RP, housing, insane. Like plus. PvP is a minus. I think PvE content It's fun, but it gets repetitive. I think it's a plus and minus. I think it's mid. I know I'm gonna get a lot of tomatoes thrown at me, but I think FFXIV PV is mid. There is no loot hype. The boss is the same thing. The mechanics are same. Once you learn it, you have it forever. It's like learning how to play a piano. Once you know how to play that music, it's the same thing. Right? As well as WoW. I think WoW PV is the same. I think it's like plus and minus. But the loot hype is there, so I would give it a plus. Now, loot hype goes many ways. Some people might not like it. Some people might like it. I like it. When my loot drops after going there for 3 months, do you know how fucking hype that is? Holy, and people like watching that. I live for that kind of stuff, right? I like that. I like that a lot, chat. It sucks you don't get it, but once you get it, it is very satisfying. I love that. PvE content, it differentiates. Red Dead Lich King content is a little bit, right? It's not that hard. Retail WoW, it's very hard. Retail WoW raid is very hard. So I think in PvE WoW wins. RP and housing, what? WoW, World of Warcraft's Garrison? Garrison sucks. Garrison sucks ass. RP, it does exist. There are some cool people, but it doesn't come up to FFXIV level, okay? So FFXIV wins in this. It's very hard. Now, Lost Ark does have housing, and they have like dyes to dye clothing, which is super cool, but it's an isometric POV. You can't RP isometric POV, so even though Lost Ark has what FFXIV has, they cannot win in the RP and housing. They can't. They do have a lot of cool trophies, everything though. Like if you kill a boss in hard mode, you get like their horns and you can like put it on your wall. It's cool. I wish WoW had that too. Imagine we kill like Jailer and you could like chop off his finger and we could like put it on a statue, like Jailer's finger, in our house. That would be sick, right? I think Lost Ark PvE is the best. It's super fun. Super engaging. Reactionary. You see the boss doing something, you have to dodge it. You see the boss like casting something, you have to counter it right away. I know WoW has counters too, but there's like positional counters in this game. And there's like bombs you gotta throw. And if you press spacebar, you like dodge, right? Spacebar is a dodge. I love that in a game. I think WoW or any MMO in the future, they should 100% have like a space dodge mechanic. It's kind of like Shadow Priest, or in retail, Priest has an ability called Greater Fade. And when you see a kidney shot coming, you can press Greater Fade. And in that split second, it immunes that kidney shot, right? I like that aspect. When I'm playing my Red Paladin and I see the rogue coming for kidney shot, it's either I run that way or I can't do anything. Like he just shot us a kidney, I just take the kidney, right? But in Lost Ark, if you see something coming, you could press that space bar, which has a cooldown. You could press it and dodge abilities. I think that is fantastic in a game. It adds a whole new level of skill cap. It's super good. PvP, I think Lost Ark PvP wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. But I think WoW, even though WoW PvP is bad, I think WoW PvP is still #1. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it is still better than Lost Ark PvP and FFXIV PvP. And I think that's the whole show. I guess I could talk about MSQ, like story. Yo, Guzu! Thank you for the 1,000,000 hosts. Hope you had a great stream. I was on a big, long rant. Woo! That was a big one. Did I have like a headache from talking so much? Anyways, Guzu, hello. Good to see you. I love you, man. Tomorrow we go for Undying, okay? Tomorrow we go for Undying. Can you play the game? I do need to do my BG. I actually like talking about this. This was fun, chat. Thank you for that video, Maul. That was an excellent video to react to. We get to talk about all the games. Did I not cover anything? Any questions, concerns, chat, that I missed? If you had to choose at the moment, which game would you prefer in the 3? Like I said, I think WoW is what I like because it has PvP and PvE and the loot hype. If I was single and I was not a streamer, I would definitely want to play FFXIV. So I could have a second life. I could log in as a cute Miko T female, and I can start. You know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding. I'm making that up. But I think FF is like a chill game. FF is a chill game. Honestly, if I wasn't a streamer and I just worked a full-time job, I would play Lost Ark and I'd be a huge whale in Lost Ark. I'd swipe so fucking hard and my gear would be like 1600 and I'd be one-shotting everything and everyone's gonna be like bow down to me, okay? FFXIV, yeah, FFXIV is like, it's fun and it's, I will say every game here is fun in its own way, chat. It is fun in its own ways, okay? Alright, chat. Any other questions that I missed? Guzu, thank you again. Guzu people, hello. Tomorrow we're gonna do next 10 and we're gonna do some 5v5.